I'm now joined by the award-winning director, co-founder of the film production company Trailblazer. Naeem Mahmood's debut film, Brash Young Turks, looks at a group of young people rebelling against what society expects of them. But how hard is it to carve out your own identities when your family or society expect perhaps too much from you, or certainly expect you to go into a certain direction that is not one that you wish to go down? It's something the film explores, and Naeem can tell us all about it. Naeem, welcome to BBC Asia Network.
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Now, how long has this journey been? Because the movie is going to be shown on London Live, the local London channel, this weekend. But when did this journey for Brash Young Turks begin?
Started about 4 years ago. So that's when the initial concept came out, which was looking at aspiration, young people and aspiration. And we literally started off in a little youth centre in Hackney. So no real finance, no real backing, just a youth centre and a concept. So what we did is we just started to improvise. So we got a few actors, started to develop the concept through improvisation. And then after several months of improvisation with lots of actors, we were able to create the script.
Right, okay, so the actors came first and then the script came second.
That's right. I mean, not all the actors lasted the distance, some came and went, but the key thing was to just get the script ready. And it was initially a concept that I was inspired because I was tired of all the clichés of, young people being stereotyped in certain lights. I wanted to do something that was a lot more progressive, something that was showing young people in a much more aspirational and charismatic light. So young people breaking out of the boxes, and reaching for far more, rising up the food chain of society, so to speak.
Yeah, of course. So tell me then, what is the story of Brash Young Turks?
Brash Young Turks is about a group of daring young go-getters who are from the wrong side of the tracks, who are looking to rise up in society and notoriety by any means necessary. They're not going to take no for an answer. They're going to boot down those doors that kind of hinder them for progression. So that's essentially the sort of theme of Brash Young Turks. And it's very much a coming-of-age movie that follows these young people getting their hustle on and just going out there and rising to the top.
How does it differ from, say, some of the other kind of urban films that have taken place with, there's comedy ones, of course, but there have been ones, kidulthood and adulthood, for instance. How does it differ from that?
Brash Young Turks is taking things to a whole new level. It's a lot more bolder, it's a lot more colourful, it's a lot more stylish, but it's got substance as well. So these characters, they're not looking to just stay in the hood. They're looking to transcend that and rise into the higher echelons. So it's a lot more fresher in that sense and a lot more flamboyant, I think, is the key word. It's got a lot of style.
And how did your journey get you to this place where, you're a filmmaker?
I had to kind of be a Brash Young Turk myself as well. I had to hustle to get to this stage. And even to make this film happen, we had to really, really hustle because it's quite a grand film. Even though it started off in this youth centre, we ended up shooting in about 50 locations all across the UK with a cast of up to 300 to 400 people. So it became this mammoth grand project. And to do that, we really had to hustle. For example, one of the scenes we shot is on the Heron Tower on Sushi Samba, on Europe's highest outdoor restaurant. And to get that, I would literally just turn up there every day, suited and booted, to find the manager. And eventually, once I found the manager, I just stopped him and said, look, you need to jump on board this project because this very much sits in with your brand, which is about aspiration. So that's an example of how we had to hustle to kind of get it done. Yeah.
So, and funding, I mean, it's so difficult to get movies funded.
Yeah.
How did you set about doing that?
Initially, we managed to get a small grant from an organisation called Inspire, which is a charity in Hackney that works with young people. So we proposed to them that we wanted to get young people more constructive by getting them involved in filmmaking. So we were able to get a small little grant, which has kind of planted the seed. And then it was about just getting out there and knocking on doors, just turning up everywhere. For example, we got Technicolor to do the final grade of the film. And there's a lot of talk about the sort of hyper-stylized color of the movie and the look and feel of the movie. And to get Technicolor, I literally, again, just kind of turned up there and And yeah, they just loved the project. They jumped on board. They could see the passion. They could see that we're doing something different, something fresh that we haven't seen before in the UK. So they must have done like 30, 40 grand of work on the film pro bono. So again, that was another example of how we got stuff done. And then, you know, like there's been a lot of talk about the costumes and, you know, and sometimes we would go places and buy like thousands of pounds worth of costume and then refund it, you know? So yeah, we had to
the
be
hustle was real.
For real, no doubt. Yeah.
So you would go there, you would buy some clothes,
yeah,
and you'd wear them,
yeah,
and then just say, and then return them and get a refund.
That's it. Yeah, it had to be done, you know, because we didn't want to settle for anything less. And sometimes it's difficult to get the opportunities in the UK to do these kind of films, you know. We weren't doing the cliched thing of, you know, young people as drug dealers or hoodie in the streets. Do you know what I mean? We were pushing the boat out, and sometimes we found it's difficult to get support for that. So we weren't going to take no for an answer and became Brash Young Turks doing the film.
Okay, well, Naeem, we'll come back and speak to you a little bit more about the film Brash Young Turks and you yourself as well after this.
Just because I'm from the wrong side of the track don't mean you can hold me back. There's no way I'm looking back. I'm gonna elevate myself to higher heights. I don't do no 9 to 5 on the hustle day and night until I get it right. It ain't easy. I'm running from the postcode on my back. There's no holding me back. There's no holding me back. We be holding it down. Don't fall on the ground. Come too far. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Never thought we'd be here. Live your life with no fear. Come too far. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us.
Oh my wow.
Ain't no stopping us.
But I'm building my empire, my dream, my desire. Holding the torch, I'm holding the fire. Let's raise the stakes higher. I'm in the big news, cooking up a fire. Blowing out hot air like a hairdryer. I come in a hot hair, call me sire. Hot like chips in a fryer. Just like a bird, I'm a high flyer. Change the game and make them admire. That's my craft. You don't wanna cross my wire. You don't wanna cross my path. Wanna go on like walk one eye. I just walk past them and laugh. Gotta be smart, gotta be wise. Always got my hands in them other pies. I've never been a waste like them other guys. I'm like that early morning sun, I'm on the rise. We're coming through like them bulldozers. We used to drive before, now we got chauffeurs. From young, I was rolling with them wise olders. My head screwed on another ready poachers.
We be holding it down, don't fall on the ground. Come too far, ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Never thought we'd be here. Live your life with no fear. Come too far. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us.
I'm smarter than required. There's no holding me back. There's no holding me back. No, there's no holding me back. I'm starting a riot. There's no time to be slack. I've come too far to look back. I don't wanna hear none of that. I got my head screwed on. 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 I got my head screwed on.
We be holding it down. Don't fall on the ground. Come too far. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Never thought we'd be here. Live your life with no fear. Come too far. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us. Ain't no stopping us.
Brash Young Turks, Turks. Brash Young Turks, Turks. Brash Young Turks, Turks. Young Turks, Young Turks. Brash Young Turks, Turks. Brash Young Turks, Turks. Brash Young Turks, Turks. Young Turks, Young Turks.
There you go. DEE featuring Hava with Empire from the soundtrack for Brash Young Turks, a movie that is going to be premiering on London Live, which is Sky Channel what? Where can people see that if they're in the London area then?
That's Sky 117.
117.
And it's Freeview 8 as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, I think it's on the basis of that track and your hustle, and you've certainly put an interesting cast together. People. Now, how many of these people had ever acted before?
A lot of them hadn't acted before. So many people were cast from the local area in Hackney and also young people across London. So we put out casting calls all over. We must have had about 500 people that came to audition. So a lot of the people in the film, especially a lot of the young actors, never acted before. And then on the other hand, you've got like this eclectic mix of seasoned professionals with these young people. So you've got people like Julian Glover, who was in Star Wars, who's in Game of Thrones at the moment. Indiana Jones was a Bond villain. Him acting alongside like these new talents who never acted was like a mad mix. And then you got people from the music scene, like with DEE making this memorable cameo in the film as well. So a really crazy mix. But that's how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be organic. I wanted it to be authentic and different and not just follow the usual sort of pattern.
It is really a labour of love to do something like this, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what did you learn in the process of doing this film about young people and about yourself? What were the lessons you learned?
I think the key thing is to achieve anything on this kind of scale. Forget about all the technical sides or the creative sides. It's all about having thick skin. That's the key
yeah.
And not taking no for an answer, you know, and you're going to get a lot of setbacks, a lot of knockbacks, a lot of rejection, and you have to be really, really tough. Otherwise, you're not going to cut the mustard. And you know, like I was saying earlier, it's 4 years in the making. So you need to have a lot of focus, a lot of drive, and you have to sustain that for quite a long period. And if you want to achieve anything and really, you know, explore your talents, you have to have that thick skin because it's very, very tough out there to get something like this off the ground. And making films, as you know, it's not like a painting. You can sit in your room and just do it by yourself. You have to collaborate with a lot of people on every different spectrum. But, you know, the rewards are starting to come now after all that time. It's really starting to get out there. We've been touring the country, not just having the film shown cinematically, but also going to universities and colleges all over the UK, and now the TV premiere coming up, and then we've got online distribution to follow and DVD and all of that stuff. So things are starting to bubble quite nicely now, you know, but it was a tough road getting there.
Yeah, it's definitely moving. In terms of the future for you, what's the next project? Because I know this project isn't finished by any stretch of imagination, but, you know, you've always got to be thinking on to the next one, as Jay-Z once said. Oh,
absolutely. I've got quite a few little projects in development now. I've had a few offers as well since Brash Young Turks. A movie that I'm particularly excited about is a hyper-stylized, raucous crime thriller called Us, which is going to mix supernatural elements with the sort of gangster genre. So I'm quite excited about that. It's going to be really bold and in your face. And then, you know, it's about really starting to raise the bar of what UK independent films can accomplish. That's what I'm excited about doing.
Because how much is a budget for a movie like this?
Well, I had, not so long ago, I had the producer of Hunger, which is a film directed by Steve McQueen, the guy who did 12 Years a Slave. And he came to watch the film and knew nothing about it. And he said it was looking like you've spent about $500,000 in terms of cash on this film. And considering, like I was saying, this is a film that was born from a little youth centre, that was, you know, kind of really sums it up. But of course, in terms of the budget that we had, it was nothing like that at all. So the hustle was big, you know.
Well, you've certainly got there and you've certainly sorted it out. What messages do you think come from the film? You've talked about what you learned from it. Are they the same messages that come from the film, or there's different messages?
Yes, and to add to that, I think the key message is about showing young people that they can break out of this box that's sometimes handed out to them. They can be bigger than that. They can be worldly. They can explore a whole lot more. For instance, one of the leading characters is a young female character who's a strong female character, an independent young female who's not just relying on men and other people.
Mia?
That's Mia. That's right, played by the very talented Melissa Latouche. And her character is an example that some of these young girls, they don't just have to be a hip-hop honey in a music video shaking a booty. Yeah. Do you know what what I mean? So
Yeah.
she's trying to carve out her own identity and her own life and ambitions on her own terms. And I think there's a real message there that you can be whoever you want to be. If you can just put your mind to it. In many ways, the film is very much an urban fantasy to some degree, except you don't see little hobbits running around. You see characters that you can actually relate to. So there is a fantasy element to it. I didn't want to make an out-and-out realist film. I wanted to have this touch of fantasy. So when you watch it, you can start to dream. You can start to.
Where are your family from?
My mum's from Pakistan,
Right.
and my dad was born in India.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what about telling those stories, or is it something that you don't want to be? You don't want to be known as an Asian filmmaker. You just want to be a filmmaker.
No, not at all. I don't mind, the whole Asian thing. But at the end of the day, it's all about being a filmmaker. That's my craft. That's what I do. And when you watch Brash Young Turks, even though there's characters of different races in it, race is not really an issue. There's characters of different classes in the film, but really class isn't even an issue. Whereas often a lot of the stuff we see in the mainstream, people are boxed and classed in certain boxes. But in this film, that's not really the issue,
Perfect. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in today, Naeem. I mean, we met at the BFI, and you told me about this. How long ago?
This was probably like back in December, I think it was.
Back in December, so we're like 6 months hence.
Yeah.
And you came up to me and, you had it all locked down, and I could tell by then that the hustle was real.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, we're here sitting talking about it, and of course that Brash Young Turks will be shown, especially in London. But if people are not in London, and many of our listeners live outside of London, where can they see it? Because it's going to be premiering on London Live this Saturday, the 21st at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
But where else can people see it?
It will be out online afterwards in the summer. So it'll be on iTunes, on Google Play, and then it'll be onto DVD as well. And also look out for us as well, because we'll be touring the country as well. So we've been doing a lot of Q&As. So if you want to come down, meet the cast, myself, and really talk about film and the British industry as well as just Brash Young Turks, come down and check it out, because it's becoming a bit of a movement.
And where can people find out more about it? Where online should they go?
Key thing is follow us on Twitter at Brash Young Turks. Follow us on Facebook, Brash Young Turks Movie, and myself, Naeem Director. That stuff is getting updated on a daily basis, so lots of information coming out there.
Perfect. Well, listen, thank you so much, Naeem, for coming in.
I just wanted to add, Nihal, that you yourself were a bit of a Brash Young Turk back in the day, so even you were an inspiration.
The hustle is still real.
I'm telling you.
Naeem, the hustle is still real out here. Trust me on that one. It's still in. We're gliding on the surface, but underneath, like a duck, our feet are just going crazy, just trying to get us to the direction we want to get to eventually. But Naeem, listen, all respect due for the hustle, and all respect due for getting your vision out.
Cheers.
Brash Young Turks. Go and see it.